And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Things just went from bad to worse for Snow White, and it's shaping up to become one of the biggest bombs of all time.
Rachel Zegler has officially become the laughingstock of Hollywood after Disney decided to pull the plug on her Snow White and remove it from cinemas after it still couldn't turn a profit months after its release. Not only that, Rachel is now allegedly on a no-hire list in Hollywood, and industry insiders are now saying her career is finished. So join me today as we dive deep into this drama, as we figure out why Disney is looking to get revenge on Rachel for all the money she lost them. Guys, Disney's Snow White remake is officially closing the curtain, and not with a fairy tale ending. Rachel Zegler's Snow White, the long embattled live-action reimagining of the classic 1937 animated film, has quietly bowed out of theaters after months of backlash, controversy, and a box office performance that could only be described as catastrophic. Despite the studio's efforts to breathe new life into the classic story, the film ultimately became a cautionary tale in itself, one of politics, PR disasters, and a fandom that wasn't buying what Disney was selling. Let's be real, Snow White was doomed from the start. Between Zegler's repeated digs at the original movie, calling it weird and not empowering, and her tone-deaf social media posts that rubbed fans the wrong way, this remake seemed to carry more baggage than buzz. Throw in a casting controversy stirred up by Peter Dinklage, who blasted the studio for what he called hypocrisy in portraying the Seven Dwarfs, and Disney's bizarre decision to replace them with CGI creations instead of real actors, and you got a PR nightmare wrapped in mouse ears. When it finally hit theaters on March 21st, audiences responded with a loud, resounding meh. The opening weekend brought in just $42.2 million at the domestic box office, a staggering flop considering the film's jaw-dropping $269 million production budget before marketing. That's right, before Disney even dropped a cent on trailers, posters, or social media ads, the film was already a budgetary beast.
The Walt Disney Company's live-action controversy-bedeviled Snow White opened in theaters with a sleepy $43 million in ticket sales, according to studio estimates on Sunday. With a budget above $250 million, Snow White had set out with higher ambitions, particularly since it returns Disney to its very origins. The 1937 original Snow White and Seven Dwarfs was the company's first animated feature and paid for its Burbank studio lot. So $43 million on a budget of $250 million. And keep in mind, as you always have to keep in mind with these kinds of numbers, that the production budget is not anywhere close to the full budget of the film. There's also a marketing budget, which is often the same as the production budget, if not more, which means that the total amount that Disney probably spent on this Snow White adaptation was probably closer to $500 million.
Now, despite being on the big screen for months, Snow White never recovered from its rocky start. The box office kept dipping, the reviews were lukewarm at best, and the buzz that Disney hoped would turn it into a modern classic never materialized. What they got instead was one of the studio's most high-profile financial faceplants in recent memory. Now, with the film quietly disappearing from theaters, Rachel Zegler's career is also seemingly disappearing with it. Now, the numbers of this disastrous movie are as brutal as the backlash. After just 2.5 months in theaters, Snow White has closed its theatrical run with a whimper, not a bang. On its final day, June 5th, the film scraped together a mere $347 from 25 North American theaters. That's right, less than what some people spend on groceries. It's total domestic haul, $87.2 million. Add in the $118.3 million it managed to scrounge up overseas, and you get a worldwide total of $205.5 million. Sounds like a decent payday until you remember the movie cost a staggering $269.4 million just to make, not even counting the mountain of cash Disney likely poured into marketing, promotion, and global distribution. Let's do the math for a second. With theaters typically taking around 50% of ticket sales, Disney's actual take-home from that $205.5 million is closer to $102 to $110 million, depending on the region. And that's before accounting for the millions spent on ads, red carpets, and Zegler's now infamous press tour. Factor in all those costs, and Snow White didn't just flop, it tanked hard, with losses likely soaring well past the $150 million mark. The crash was quick too. After a disastrous opening weekend, the movie plummeted 66% in week 2, surrendering the box office throne to Jason Statham's modest $40 million action flick, A Working Man. From there, it was a rapid free fall into obscurity. So what killed Snow White? A cursed cocktail of bad buzz, internet ire, PR fumbles, and a story that didn't resonate with audiences. Instead of a modern fairy tale, Disney got stuck with a cautionary tale, one that'll be dissected for years as the studio reevaluates its approach to reboots and reimaginings. Guys, the post-mortem on Disney's Snow White only deepens the sting. The numbers are now worse than initially feared. Originally, Deadline estimated in March that Snow White would limp to $225 million globally and rack up $295 million in total revenue, factoring in $101 million from global theatrical rentals, $62 million from home entertainment, $130 million from streaming and TV rights, $2 million from merchandise. Those projections were already grim, forecasting a $115 million loss after subtracting total estimated costs of $410 million, a figure that included $269.4 million in production, $111 million in global marketing, $29 million in residuals, and other expenses. But now that the actual worldwide box office is only $205.5 million, nearly $20 million short of projections, the red ink runs even deeper. Disney's losses are likely to exceed $125 to $130 million, especially as lower than expected box office revenue means weaker downstream performance for home video and TV licensing as well. Meanwhile, the contrast couldn't be more stark with Lilo and Stitch, Disney's other live-action release this year. With a $100 million budget and over $637 million earned globally in just a couple of weeks, it's not just profitable, it's potentially Disney's biggest hit of 2025. It's also on track to dominate the summer box office. As Snow White slinks off to Disney Plus on, the company is clearly hoping for a soft redemption, maybe some goodwill from streaming viewers who skipped theaters, but expectations are low. Critics already panned the film, audiences didn't show up, and the controversy surrounding star Rachel Zegler and Disney's reimagining choices left many turned off before it even hit screens. Bottom line, estimated losses now exceed $130 million. Snow White will go down as one of Disney's biggest live-action flops. Lilo and Stitch may single-handedly save the studio's summer. If there's a lesson here, it's this: audiences aren't interested in fixing beloved classics. They're looking for authenticity, respect for the original material, and storytelling that connects. Lilo and Stitch delivered. Snow White didn't. Now, as for Rachel Zegler, she is still going on strong as her own worst enemy. Her latest remarks ahead of the 2025 Tony Awards suggest that the flop Snow White hasn't fully moved past the public relations missteps that marred her rise, and critics are noticing. After being snubbed for a Best Actress nomination for her Broadway debut in the Romeo and Juliet revival, Rachel Zegler posted a tone-laced message to her social media that some are calling passive-aggressive and bitter. While she did start by praising Broadway peers, saying performing on stage is not for the faint of heart, and likening actors to athletes, the subtext felt, to many, funny, like a veiled jab at her omission from the nominees list. Many online felt the line, "I love my job so darn much," came across as more defensive than celebratory, especially in contrast to her peers who received nods like Sadie Sink and Sarah Snook. What's making headlines, though, is not just the snub, it's Rachel's inability to let the work speak for itself. Coming off the Snow White debacle, where her criticism of the original film and its themes alienated many longtime Disney fans, she continued to project a public image that's seen as tone-deaf, especially in industries rooted in legacy and tradition, like Broadway. The pattern critics are noticing. Last couple of years, she criticized the 1937 film as outdated and weird, causing a backlash for disrespecting a classic. Her red carpet comments, she's often made offhand remarks perceived as flippant or self-centered, even when trying to be earnest. Now with Broadway, rather than congratulating fellow nominees and showing grace, she once again drew attention to her own perceived snub. What this means is that Rachel Zegler is undeniably talented, but her PR instincts remain her Achilles heel. In industries where image and timing matter just as much as performance, even well-intentioned comments can backfire, especially when delivered in the wake of controversy. If Zegler wants to truly shift the narrative, the most powerful move now might be silence. Let her performances speak, show up with professionalism, and avoid the temptation to respond even subtly to every perceived slight. In the meantime, Broadway continues to celebrate its stars, and Zegler, for now, remains just outside the spotlight she craves. So it's no surprise that she go into it with Jack Black after Minecraft launched. Word on the street is that Rachel Zegler and Jack Black allegedly got into it behind the scenes after Snow White totally flopped and Minecraft blew up at the box office. Yep, that's right. Insiders are saying these two had a full-on war of words, and honestly, no one's shocked given how things have been unraveling for Rachel lately. So fast forward to the fallout. Sources say Rachel wasn't too happy about Minecraft's massive success stealing all the attention, and then Jack Black allegedly made a shady remark that Rachel couldn't handle criticism, referencing that now infamous 2023 interview where she tried to clap back at people calling her out for the Snow White debacle. Apparently that didn't sit well with Rachel at all. Word is she got visibly upset, maybe even teared up, and definitely wasn't laughing along. Some even claim it went down backstage at a promo event or press junket. Awkward. Now, this whole mess just adds to Rachel's growing reputation for not taking criticism well. Remember her recent Broadway drama? She didn't get a Tony nom for her Romeo and Juliet performance and immediately hopped on social media talking about how hard the job is and how much she loves it, but the tone rubbed people the wrong way. It felt more like a subtle jab at the snub than genuine gratitude. And now with the whole Jack Black situation, it's giving the same vibe. Defensive, tense, and very "I'm tired of the hate," but not in a way that wins hearts. Rachel's film barely stayed afloat, while Jack's movie is out here dominating theaters and possibly heading toward being the biggest film of the year. So naturally fans are picking sides, and let's just say Rachel's not getting the sympathy she might have hoped for. At the end of the day, this whole drama just reinforces what we've seen before. Hollywood can be brutal, and not everyone's built for that level of pressure. Jack Black, the veteran, clearly knows how to play the game. Rachel Zegler, still figuring it out. If this beef is real, it might just be the latest in a long line of missteps that are starting to define her career. Anyways, what do you think about this mess? Let me know your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to check out our other videos to ensure you are all up to date with all the latest tea. Till next time, bye.